So Tom Cruise is set to get the biggest payday from a single movie of any actor or actress of all time. So today we're going to talk about how he did this. We're going to talk about his contract. We're going to talk about if he deserved it, the other actors he has to beat out, and what this means going forward for movies. We're going to get into that, but first, welcome to Venture First. My name is Alex, and remember, in order to venture deeper, one must venture first, and that's exactly what I'm here to do today. So without further ado, let's just jump into this. So before we get into how much money he's actually going to make from this, we're going to have to talk about his contract. And in order to talk about his contract, we're going to have to talk about another topic, and that is betting on himself. So Tom Cruise absolutely put all the cards on the table and bet on himself when it comes to Top Gun Maverick. So usually a star would take anywhere from 12 to, $50 million for a movie that was going to be a box office hit like that. But at this point in time, no one was sure where this movie was going to go. It was during COVID. There were some other things going on. No one knew what type of money this was going to bring. So Tom Cruise came in and said, you know what? I will take 12.5 up front, but I want 10% of first dollar profit gross. So what does 10% of first dollar gross mean? Let's get into that. So right here it says, according to a report by Puck News, thanks to a savvy deal made way back in the early stages of the movie's development, Cruise stands to make a lot more than his $12.5 million base salary that was agreed for him to star in the film. Now they do go on to say that this is a low payout for a movie of this kind, but he will also receive 10% of the movie's first dollar gross, with escalators that increase his percentage over time when they hit certain milestones. So right here they're saying he took a low pay just to be able to do this movie, but he is getting 10% of that first dollar profit gross. And that means that the first dollar that comes into the studios from Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise gets 10% of that. Now there is a caveat. He does have to wait until the movie brings in $125 million to start getting paid, but that's not really an issue here when you're talking about a movie that is grossing $1 billion in the box office. So right here I'm looking at a guide to deal structures, and usually when a participant receives a percentage of the gross from first dollar received from the studio, anyone with the power to make that kind of deal usually receives a significant compensation up front. And while yes, $12.5 million is significant, but the amount of work that Tom Cruise put into this movie, $12.5 million is nowhere near what he deserved to earn for this. So if that movie completely flopped, if it never came out, all he was going to get from that was $12.5 million. So he really did bet on himself when it came to taking the extra 10% instead of an extra $30 or $40 million up front, which he would have deserved at that time. So right here it says this deal is usually the same as gross after an artificial break, where the artificial break is equal to the advance divided by the participation. So $5 million advance at 10% is you get 10% of the aggregation starting at $50 million, because $5 million is 10% of $50 million. So that is where the $12.5 million, and that is where that break of $125 million come from. So he got paid $12.5 million, so therefore he is not going to start earning that 10% until they make $125 million. So for the people that didn't understand why there was a break there, that is why. You usually get 10% after whatever the 10% is that you got up front. So if he would have taken $50 million up front, he wouldn't have started getting paid until it reached, $500 million, if that makes sense there. So now that you know how his contract is structured and how much money he could potentially make from this, this is when we have to get into the rest of the story. This movie was supposed to come out in 2019, then the pandemic hit, and he delayed the movie. Paramount decided to delay the movie multiple times, and this is the reason for that. I'm going to play you a little clip from the man himself.
We decided to do it, and then the pandemic hit. Right. I kept having to postpone the release, and all the actors, I was like, guys, I'm sorry, I know we got to do it. Yeah. This is for the big screen, and we got to hold it. And this is for theaters, you know, and you hear the sound system, and it was made for that, and to have that release, to have an audience respond that way is just a dream. That's what I want. Yeah. I want to entertain the audience and have them feel that way. Right.
So what he's saying here is he says, this is going to be a big movie. We have to do it big. We put this amount of time into it. We put this amount of effort into building these rigs, into creating the sounds to make it an enjoyable experience for the theatrical experience. This has to be in theaters. This needs to be delayed until we can get to that point. So I bet on myself here. I put this work into making this a theatrical release. We need to do it this way. And lo and behold, when he finally could release it in the theaters, when Paramount finally released it, it has grossed $1 billion since its release. So now that it's grossed over $1 billion, that means that he is getting 10% of whatever after $125 million. I think at the time of recording this, it's at like $1.1 billion. So you're talking almost $1 billion of profit and growing every single day. So right now, after that, he's already beat out Johnny Depp for Pirates of the Caribbean. It looks like he's about to beat out Will Smith for the Men in Black, and if things continue to go down the path that they're going, he is also going to beat out Bruce Willis for The Sixth Sense, which up to this point has been the most lucrative contract, and he got incredibly lucky with that movie, but he also bet on himself and took a pay in a way that made him $115 million at the time of this release, which was insane at the time. So now we have to get to the point of, did he deserve this? What did he do to deserve this? I know he's a big star. Yes, he deserves a lot of money, but did he deserve the amount of money that he's getting? In my opinion, yes, he does. I am not a huge Tom Cruise fan. In fact, I don't like many of his movies, but I am a fan of the way that movies are made and everything that goes on behind the scenes. So seeing this and seeing the amount of work that he put in makes me more of a fan of his and makes me believe that he deserves that money more. Not only was he the lead actor, but he was a producer, and he put a ton of time in behind the scenes to get the cast ready, to get the rigs ready, to get the movie done. And not only that, but he himself specifically helped build the rigs that made this movie so realistic. Before he got in there and started working on this, these rigs didn't exist. So in reality, he has built a new technology that helped make a movie that made $1 billion. So if you don't think that he deserves 10% of that, you're crazy. That's it. You're crazy. And this leads me to my last point before I close out this video, is what does this mean for movies going forward? And this means that the movies, the theaters, are not dead yet. It means that streaming, while super popular, people are still willing to go to the movies and pay for movies. And it means that superhero genres, DC and Marvel exclusively really has the game in a chokehold, and people are really worried to make movies that are not superhero based because they just don't make the money that they used to. This proves that completely wrong. If you put the time in to make a quality movie, to make a good movie, people are willing to go to it. So these movies that you're seeing on Netflix as Netflix exclusives, keep those on the platform. They are not movies that you deserve to put in the movies. But if you are willing to put the time and effort into making a movie of that quality, people are willing to pay. So this idea that big movies are dead, they're not. The idea that people won't pay to go see a movie in the theaters is completely wrong. So this gives me hope that the movie industry could potentially be revitalized from movies like this, and realize that consumers want more than just Marvel movies. I love Marvel. I love their movies. Their quality, they are big, they are visually stunning, they sound great, but there's more to production. There is more to storytelling than rehashing, the same story over and over. Just because it cinematically looks good doesn't mean that it's the only movies that people are willing to go see. Make good movies and we will come. If they build it, we will come, they will come. That's us with good movies. So I urge producers, I urge movie makers to follow this up with other big movies that people are willing to go see, and that's it. That's really it. Tell me what you guys think below. Do you think Tom Cruise earned this? Do you think there's a future for movie theaters, or do you think the movies are completely dead? Let me know down in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, in order to venture deeper, one must venture first, and that's exactly what I'm here to do today. I really do appreciate your time, so if you've stuck around this long, I really do appreciate you. So until next time, thank you.